So today we are going to be installing the Lippert Solid Step system. Now, as for difficulty of this install, between a rating of 1 being really easy and 5 being really difficult, I'd say it's going to fall somewhere between like a 2 and a 3, leaning a little bit closer to a 2. As far as duration, you're probably looking at about an hour and a half or so for total install time. And for tools needed, here's what you got. You're going to need a power drill, Phillips bit, tape measure, utility knife, a 5/32 drill bit, and if you have a laminated floor, you're also going to need a 13 64-inch drill bit, as well as a 10mm socket, and then lastly, a 7/16-inch socket, as well as the socket wrench. All right, so the first thing we have to do is to determine what steps we actually need, and to do that, it's going to require 2 different measurements. The first one is going to be the width of the door jamb. So we will take that measurement and write it down. The second measurement is going to be from the ground to the top of our door threshold, and same thing, we will write that down. Once you have those measurements, you can just simply go to the Camping World website, plug in those measurements, and find out which steps you need. Now, if you notice on this particular camper, we have this threshold cover plate. So you actually want to remove this if you have it. That way the steps themselves will sit as close as possible to the threshold and be nice and level. So chances are when you're installing the solid steps, you will have another step that's already here. You will see we went ahead and removed it. You don't have to. If it just folds up, you can leave it there, but for aesthetic purposes and because I don't need it, I went ahead and removed it, and it was fairly easy to do. There's just going to be 4 carriage bolts, 2 on either side. Remove those and the step system will drop right out. All right, next we're going to take the solid step system and place it in our doorway. Now we want to do a couple things here. First off, we want to make sure that this top plate is as flush and level as possible on the threshold. In order to adjust that, you'll actually adjust the feet and make sure that you're not going to have big spacing in between the threshold and this plate. Once you accomplish that, you're then going to take a tape measure and measure between the door frame and the step plate here to make sure that our steps are centered. The next step is going to be to determine what kind of subfloor you have in your RV. If you have a wood substrate, then we can just move on to the next step. But if you have a laminated floor, or essentially a foam core floor, then you're going to have to use the backer plate for more screw retention. Now, to determine what your subfloor is, we have a couple different methods. One is you can slide underneath on a dolly and cut a small opening into your underbelly if it has a cover, and take a look through the bottom of the RV and then just tape it back up when you're done. The other option, of course, would be to simply call your Camping World sales associate and they should be able to tell you. So we have determined that the subfloor in this RV, the Coleman 17B, is going to be a wood substrate. So that means we're going to use the 5/32 drill bit for a pilot hole. So what we want to do is, you'll find right here on the top, you have some grommets. We actually want to pop these grommets off, and you will see that there is a oval hole underneath. So we're going to just kind of push this down. I'm going to drill a pilot hole in the center, and then I will do that on both sides, and then we will insert our wood screws. Now that we have the steps partially secure through our mounting holes, the next step is to actually lift up the solid steps, and we're going to adjust our brackets here so that it catches on the door. Now, the instructions do state to have someone inside be able to hold the steps, and it definitely does make it a little bit easier, but if you're just doing it solo, just make sure you hold on to the steps, don't let them fall in or out, and we will adjust these 3 bolts on one side, adjust it to make sure it catches on the door, then we'll do it on the other side, tighten all those up, and then we'll give it a shake test just to kind of help simulate what it would be like going down the road. You will have to do a little bit of fine tuning here just to make sure that the catch plate on the steps isn't hitting the outer door, but is just catching on the inner frame where you want it. But you also need to make sure that the latch is going to be secure on the inside of the door when the steps are fully in. That way, it's not going to fall out while you are in transit. Next, we're just simply going to drill pilot holes in each of the remaining oval slots and insert our wood screws. Now, for aesthetic reasons, if you don't want the holes right here where this threshold cover plate is, we can actually reinstall it and these steps will still function, but we're only going to be able to get the 2 end screws in, not the center one. So I'm just going to quickly reinstall this. And we're good to go. As a really nice option, we can also get the Lippert step light. It is magnetic, so it is nice and easy to remove because it runs on 6 AA's. You'll see the sticky side. We simply remove the 3M tape. We're then just going to place it right there on the step so our steps will light up at night. And that's all there is to it. You can pick up your Lippert Solid Step and the light if you wish at your local Camping World, or simply visit campingworld.com.